789 million linear television houses in India. To be number one in a viewership of 789 million.
Great, yeah.
It is the second most watched show on OTT.
Absolutely.
On an OTT which has today 35% of the Indian market. And that market is 600 million people. So to be number one or oscillate between number one and two in a viewership of 700 million people after having a decade as a minister, I must be the only one.
Absolutely.
So every day you wake up and say, what can I do which is new today?
I know. So I remember.
Maybe what I do new today is how to fix a mic.
I remember the elections that you lost, and I was terribly sad, and I was worried that when I meet. No, wait, just let me finish.
Which is a unique emotion because normally citizens are not sad when politicians lose elections.
No, you know, everyone knows I've known you well, and I was hoping that you'd win, and I was pretty sad. And when I met you a month or so after, and I was worried how to deal with that situation. It's a difficult situation to deal with. And when I went to meet her at her home, and she said, so what? I have 10 other things to do. I have a business to run. I'll sit back and make money. Don't worry. You come with me and we'll do textiles and entrepreneurship and we'll create business. She was far more excited having lost. So I want to tell all these startups and young people, there are challenges every day. There are defeats every day. How do you deal with that is something, and especially as a woman, having multitasking roles.
There is a special thing about being women when we lose.
No, it's not about, it's losing is one action.
Loss and opportunity doesn't see gender.
So, you know,
when you hold a dollar bill in your hand, that dollar bill doesn't know whether you're a man or a woman.
You know,
so I've said this before and I'll say it today. मेरी किस्मत हमेशा जीतने नहीं लिखी, मेरी actual किस्मत हमेशा हारने लिखी है.
That's what I want. The underdog in you strives to excel. If you lose a little bit and then go higher and higher.
But Mahavir, if I look back at my 49 years, 10 years a minister, 3-time MP, served both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the first ever woman to be the cabinet rank minister for textiles,
yes.
The first ever female from a Hindu family to be the minority minister of India, the first ever cabinet rank woman for education in India. I think that
speaks a lot,
back,
obviously.
And if I stop counting my blessings, then I will not have the sense of gratitude that I have today. I also remind people that I fought my first election in Lok Sabha when I was 27 years old. I'm 49 today. And I lost that election in 2004 from a seat called Chandni Chowk.
Which is your home.
And at that time, I remember the candidate actually who was aspiring for that ticket, Praveen Khandelwal. 20 years ago, I told him, I said, चिंता नहीं करो, एक दिन आपको टिकट मिलेगी और आपके चुनाव की व्यवस्था मैं करूंगी. And through that, 24, Praveen won the Chandni Chowk seat.
Wow.
Now imagine if I had won Chandni Chowk in 2004, I would not be the HRD, ex-textile, ex-minority minister of India or the information broadcasting minister of India. Who knows where I would have landed? So I firmly believe, as our elders have always said, जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है.
So, you know, and sorry to bring this up again, I think while there are exceptions, I mean, there are quite a few successful women sitting in the audience. You are one of them, full of confidence, nothing jerk. But the majority, the larger part of the world or larger part of India, there are still challenges that women entrepreneurs, women in boardrooms face. Still there's a lack of engineering college with many women. And I know you're trying to change all of that or trying to take the rural India to a level that we are going to be wanting to take. I really feel that is there a message that you want to give to women as entrepreneurs, as startups?
Why are women always asked to give messages for women? Do you have any message for men in this audience today?
Okay, so you gave a message for men entrepreneurs.
I think women do not have a problem in deciding what they want for themselves. Women do not have a problem in deciphering what they want for themselves.
Structure.
And women do not have a problem speaking for what they want. Women have a problem being heard.
You have more mic time than I do, so I think I'm hearing you. So
my belief is let's look at equity from a different perspective. We are at the TIE platform. How do I look at equity and present it, or gender justice and present it? If I talk only about advocacy of rights, not many may support that conversation. What if I talk about the economics of equity? For instance, you're talking about women who do not get help in small businesses. I've started an endeavor called Spark, where I'm trying to help 1 lakh women-owned businesses across 300 cities in India. We are trying to raise an impact fund to the tune of $100 million for it so that we can extend credit. Now, what we have seen is that 75% women who own these micro enterprises, they don't have access to credit because their credit need is very small and they do not have the requisite paperwork to proffer to the agency as to what their credit need is or what their institutional history is. And that is why for this endeavor, I have partnered with and received the support of the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Before you go?
Please.
Can we have the video first, please? A short video, please. Yeah.
In Wazirpur, Delhi, 500 women, small enterprises turned up.
Did I not tell you that she doesn't stop? I mean, she's the #1 television show in India. She could be an MP any day, that she wants to be, or a minister. Still, she takes up a cause that's so close to your heart, and that's women's health, mental wellness, entrepreneurship, MSME, all of that collectively.
The equity economics gap in our country, if we just look at fulfilling the credit needs of women in business, or for that matter, enhance the economic capacity of women who are productively engaged with our economy, is to the tune of $150 billion. Today, 9 crore Indian women, through only self-help groups, generate close to $30 billion worth of economic capacity in our country across 6 lakh villages. So imagine these women in a formalized structure, getting digitized, knowing how to organize themselves into companies, knowing how to file their GST or tax returns, knowing how to grow just from a micro enterprise to a medium scale enterprise. Or women, we've even partnered with the National Stock Exchange in collaboration with the ICAI, which are those medium scale or enterprises which are considerably smaller, but if they are helped, then can do the entire journey of being listed at the National Stock Exchange. So those are the entities with which I'm engaging today. I believe that my life's journey from a policy perspective and a social impact perspective did not begin only when I was a politician in active politics. Before I fought my first election, before I became the first ever vice president, let's say, from Maharashtra in the youth wing in 2003, I was the USAID WHO ambassador to India for child health and maternal health. So I don't know how many audience members remember ORS with zinc. I had the good fortune of introducing that as Goodwill Ambassador to India. So I have seen the whole landscape of social impact, how policymakers, if they have a social impact background, can tune policy then to complement the social need. And then given both those experiences and the media impact, assimilate or organize the best of best, let's say, funds, professionals or organizations that are the fulcrum of such professionals to come together. And as Prime Minister Modi says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. But if you want to become the best of the best in the world, it has to be Sabka Prayas also. So how can we all as citizens come together and help each other? That possibly now is my ambition.
So the seeds of women, the care for women and concern for women at the bottom of the pyramid was sowed in 2003, 2004, and now you're creating an India-wide impact fund, a 100 million fund, in partnership with many people. You want to talk about that fund?
We've been lucky that we are getting extended partnership support from the Gates Foundation. We also are in conversations with the Tata Trust because they also have appreciated our efforts. Deloitte is our knowledge partner in this endeavor. And apart from these partnerships, the local partnerships with market associations, with trade association, and especially the Confederation of All India Traders, the CII, FICCI, it's very rare when these organizations which are normally not found on one platform together come together. But I think that has been another policy experience of mine. You've seen that in textiles, that people who would otherwise never sit together on one table to decide a common future, I tend to have the capacity to bring such people together. Ultimately, I think, Mr. Sharma, we are serving a larger national purpose.
I think so, and I'll tell you something on behalf of TIE, ma'am. TIE has always been very, very focused on empowering women. We have a TIE Women program now for 6 years. But now we're starting or launching a campaign of 100 million job creation in Tier 3, Tier 4 and rural India by generating entrepreneurship. We've created another organization and TIE is very much a part of it along with NASSCOM. And we'll be launching that later on in the afternoon, announcing that later on. I think TIE's mission also to empower women entrepreneurship. TIE can also be a partner in terms of all these organizations that you've just named.
Please, because if you have digital skills that you would like to impart, in the video that you just saw, you had a youngster who wanted to pro bono come and give their contribution through professional services so that these women understand online marketing opportunities and how to spend wisely from their businesses to propound their business interests. So if you have such capacities, we would love to take you not only to 300 cities, but the landscape of 700 cities, which will include your ambition of Tier 2, Tier 3 cities.
Absolutely, and that is what we want to endeavor, and I'm glad that we're talking about this. And welcome to the VC world. You know, it's not easy to raise money and to give, but social impact is, and there are quite a few social impact investors.
Well, I've managed to do that also. So I know how the philanthropy world is comparatively much more kinder than the world of VCs. In the past 1.5 years, I've managed to at least guide 2 startups. One, which has in the past 1 year worked in 9 cities. With a GMV of over 150 crores, just got valued by DAM Capital at 200 crores. So I guess my mentorship did bring value to that startup.
Wow.
The second is a health startup which has begun from scratch. It is possibly the first such startup in India where Mr. Gates has invested his personal wealth.
Wow.
So that work has also begun. So if you're looking for people to mentor, not only women-owned businesses, do let me know.
No, we are agnostic when it comes to creating 100 million jobs. It is about micro and small businesses that we want to empower and take them from 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs of turnover to a few crores of turnover eventually. And that I think there's lots of synergy in working there. So my only thing is that with all these funds that you're trying to put in or impact, various sectors that you've listed out, especially health of rural women or whatever. I mean, is the investment going to be in startups that are based out of and creating impact working in these sectors?
Spark is about people who have proven history of fiscal discipline. Because I recognize that there are a lot of well-meaning efforts that begin, but then they, in some manner, fizzle out because the capacity to be disciplined on finances, the capacity to be disciplined in terms of organizational behavior is a very rare capacity. So under the Spark initiative, we have a proven fiscal discipline journey of an enterprise which is at least 3 years old. The size of the business does not matter. In fact, the smaller the size, the better, because those are the people who have proven a trajectory Those are the people who have proven a small credit history. Those are the people who have proven a subset of skill that can be in some way enhanced. So in the video that you saw, we also had a lady trying to give an aptitude test. One of the biggest testimonies of how successful the hand-holding has been is that lady in the video in a blue sari. Name is Namrata Agarwal. She began with a capital investment 2 years ago of only 1 lakh rupees and has been valued at 80 crores now. Hers is an aptitude testing company. So we are bringing forth these women to that platform so that the women who congregate know that these women who have financially benefited from our hand-holding or our mentorship are the women who are then holding their hands to take them forward. So it's a cyclic, I think, event that we are proposing and we are taking to 300 cities.
Great. So, I mean, women truly are multitasker. You are a multitasker. You have acting, politics, entrepreneurship, and now impact fund management. So congratulations. I don't know what's next. You always surprise me whenever I meet you after a few months, and I think this is great. So we wish you all the best, and we'll probably do something on the Social Impact Fund as much as we can.
Thank you. But I believe that you have an AI summit, mini summit coming up.
Yeah, the regional AI summit launch is happening tomorrow.
So if you can do me a favor, please do this one. There is a presumption that with the advent of AI and AI agents, life will become more equitable. But this is the greatest damage somebody who has a myopic view on AI will possibly present. We all know that AI is based on trained data sets. Most of those data sets are historical in nature, and they impact, if used, how women progress through a company. For instance, Amazon in 2018, in fact, disengaged from an AI instrument which heavily inclined towards male resumes. Yes. So if you can bring in the conversation of equity in how AI promises to deliver certain services and look at how data sets are trained, if that becomes a part of your conversation, I think that will be extremely helpful.
Look, in the TIE circles, ma'am, it's responsible use of AI is already a conversation.
Yes.
And that includes skewed data that has, and that obviously will be part of what you were saying.
Another example I'll give you. In the automotive sector, there has been a study which has showcased that 44% women are more likely to get damaged physically in a car accident because the AI systems used by manufacturers for safety procedures and protocol checks basically predominantly look at the male physique when they test those instruments or when they test those cars. So there are many such conversations across AI, and I'm hopeful that
we'll bring that up.
Perspective
and,
of health
quite
and safety,
a few AI experts sitting here. I'm sure they will
thank you.
Take it up. So thank you once again. It's always a pleasure talking to you on stage and off stage. Hopefully we'll get...
Well, next time, hopefully I can source an AI sub-summit for women for you.
Absolutely.